Welcome to Stepping on the Mat podcast, episode 20 with me, Aaron Martinez. My guest today is one of the assistant coach at Norwalk High School, Mr. Ryan Thompson. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, we've been talking about it for a little bit since conference.
Yeah.
We've been kind of trying to figure out a way to get the timeline done with your schedule and my schedule, especially in this time of, like you were just mentioning, this time of season. It's like crazy, right? Conference, we got districts coming up, we got kids AAU going on, we got girls state, we got the dual state. Man, it's just been busy. But what's been going on with you?
Not a lot. I mean, like you said, we're in the grind of it. So with three kids, Ben in high school, and I got Evan, an 8th grader, and Adeline's a 5th grader. They're all three in sports, and unfortunately all three in winter sports, so it makes it hard to get to everything, but I'm doing my best. So this weekend was gymnastics for Adeline and AAU districts for Evan, and Ben had the weekend off from competing, so yeah.
Yeah, and Adeline, she's competed in gymnastics. I seen on your guys' Facebook, she was in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, she went to Puerto Rico in December, middle of December. Her and my wife went and had a great time out there. That was the first competition for her. She's in developmental program, so like their team at her gym, Sapphire, up in Urbandale. So a couple of them went down to Puerto Rico and had a good time. So she medaled in all of her events and all around, and then they went to an all-star meet down there as well. And medaled in the all-around again. So
wow.
Yeah, she did great. And
Super
then
talented.
this weekend, she was at her home gymnastics meet and got second in the all-around there. And so she's been doing really well.
Ben, I've gotten a chance to kind of train with him a little bit and get to know him as a kid. Man, he's a cool kid.
Yeah. He's obviously really nice kid. And sometimes in wrestling, you gotta knock the nice off a little bit, and get a little mean streak. But I think he's learning that. And but yeah, he's hungry to know more, learn more, and all that. And he sees, Eric wrestling with Tyler a lot, and coaches going with kids every once in a while. And so he asked me after season. He's like, after his season was over, he said, "Hey, next year can we wrestle more?" And I said, "Yeah, man, just grab me at practice. We'll go more. I can't spend all my time with you. I got to coach everybody else too. But yeah, we'll go more." So I think he's realizing, a little bit of tough love will go a long way. But he's
a freshman, right?
Freshman.
Yeah. I've had several conversations like Brown and even Dustin Harper about these things, about like just the dog, right? Like trying to get your kid to get that aggressiveness, right? Like just, maturity, puberty, all that stuff that kicks in with young boys. So I'm sure it'll come around.
Yeah. He's definitely going to get there.
And so how do you like balancing, all your kids compete in sports and the sports are happening at the same time?
Right.
Like, how do you and your wife spread that out?
Yeah. Elizabeth's been a godsend, so for the longest time, I've been coaching for 16 years now, at the high school level. And she jokes about being a single mom, those all winter long, of course. So, which I can't disagree with. It takes up a lot of time, but she does a great job of balancing the schedules. She gets kids where they need to go. I do my best to try to get to. It was nice having Ben in high school this year because I could spend more time with him, and I could be like, "Hey, I got Ben. I'll go wherever he goes. If he's going with the JV, I'll go with the JV." And then with Evan, I try to help out in the middle school as much as I can with Gravy and those guys. So I made it to quite a few of Evan's things, especially if they were closer in Des Moines or at home or something. So Brown was great with that. Let me, skip out on practice and go help the middle school program because he understands the feeder. If we got a successful middle school program, we got a successful high school program. So that was nice to be able to get with Evan and do that. And he had a couple weekend tournaments that I was able to go to on a Sunday. Obviously today at districts, was able to get there and help coach him and everything. And then we're lucky with Adeline's gymnastics. Every once in a while, their weekend tournaments start on Fridays. And so earlier in the season, she had a meet down in Kansas City on a Friday. So I took the day off, and Elizabeth and I and Adeline went down there. So it was cool for us as a parent couple, just to be able to have that one-on-one time with Adeline. So but yeah, it stretches the schedule for sure. But it's nice. Yeah,
and you said Evan was down at the middle school and the districts.
Yeah.
How did that go today?
He took a couple lumps, but all in all, the guys wrestled tough. Guys wrestled well. We had a couple qualifiers out of the middle school age group. Luke Palin and Finnegan, Troy Finnegan.
Troy, yeah, he's one of my guys too. Yeah.
So they both wrestled really well. Troy was in the finals, finished second, and Luke finished third after losing a tough semifinal match. So looking forward to having those guys represented down at Wells Fargo, and it'll be good experience for those guys heading into the high school freshman year. So and then the youth program had another 6 or 7 guys that practice at Norwalk, and they might wrestle for some other clubs, but Norwalk kids. So Tigner's little brother.
A little animal, little Georgie.
Yeah. So and a lot of guys that came and represented well, so wrestled hard.
Yeah, it's neat watching those guys. I'm like me and you've seen, like we talking about Harper, like seeing and Saya and all these other kids, Tate Turner, all these guys that were little kids, when they started. And now they're the boys in school about to have their final seasons,
right.
And then making room for the next set of Norwalk Warriors coming up. It's neat to see that. I ran into Major this week. I also ran into Wes Duncan. His daughter is out there competing. But Major, I seen his dad got presented award for being officiating. Yeah. Awesome. That was neat to see that. Just kind of like I said, the culmination of all of it, seeing you guys. I interviewed your brother, just seeing everybody's successes and just dedication to youth sports is phenomenal for this community.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that from you.
Absolutely. It's, people need to step up and do it, and I've always been one that's done. I mean, I coached Ben and Evan's baseball teams. I helped coach Adeline's softball team with another wrestling dad, Brad Wilson. He's got a daughter, Evelyn, and a son.
Man, I bet that team was rough. I bet you guys were.
Yeah. Marky Gomez is on the team. So Vinny Gomez is the girls wrestling coach at Indianola. So his daughter's on the softball team. So we got a whole bunch of wrestlers on that softball team. So they're a force to be reckoned with for sure.
Yeah. So we just had the state duels. Did you catch any of the matches or watch any of it on iWrestling or anything like that?
Yeah, we caught a couple matches. Eric came and watched Adeline at her gymnastics meet on Saturday, and so in between Adeline's performances, it's like they perform for like a minute and then they're off for 25 minutes. So at 25 minutes we got the phone up and we're watching, Southeast Polk Bettendorf duel and Indianola and Fort Dodge and all that. We were catching up a little bit. We weren't able to dedicate a night to watching it, but I caught some of the matches.
I was excited to watch the 120-pound weight class just because we didn't get to see some of that at the what term was that? What I'm thinking, Ed Winger. Yeah, I was hoping to see Carter Pearson there, but we got to see him this weekend, and he lit it up.
He did.
He was on fire.
Yes, he had a big weekend.
Yeah. So we get that nice little preview of what's going to happen here in the next couple of weeks. So, where are you guys at preparation wise at Norwalk for the districts coming up this weekend?
Yeah. So we practiced hard all week. Tuesday had our regional duel with Iowa City High. Came up short there. And Wednesday came right back and got back on the mat and started working towards our goal of getting qualifiers through on districts. So this week we're going to look to start tapering a little bit, get the guys feeling good, getting healthy, or as healthy as you can be at this point in the season, So, yeah. But we're ready. We're hosting on Saturday, so that's always a comfort, being in your home gym. You get to sleep in your own bed the night before. Everybody gets to sleep in their own bed, but don't have to get that long cold bus ride to the meet. So
yeah, and Norwalk's been hosting quite a few.
The last
events,
two, since we've got the Impact, we've got the last 2 districts. So, and I talked to Josh Toby about it, the AD, and I said, "Is this something we're gonna keep doing?" He's like, "As long as they'll let us keep doing it, we'll keep hosting." And I like that. There's something about being home, having your wrestling room, having your locker room. It's kind of nice. So.
Yeah. How do you think we're looking as a team for districts?
Yeah, looking good. We're gonna have a lot of guys seeded to where if it goes to chalk, they should qualify. We have some guys that are going to be probably in that 4-5 matchup where we're going to have to do some work to get there. But I think we're ready for it. Guys are weight seems to be under control, and we'd been shifting around. Harrison had been shifting around a little bit. Thinking maybe 215 now, maybe 190. So, but he's good for weight and everything. So just getting guys healthy. I think for the most part, everybody's as healthy as we've been all season long. So
yeah. And how are you holding up health wise?
Pretty good, better than Eric, I'd say. I did jam my thumb wrestling with Tigner yesterday in practice, and it's swollen, but I'll be all right. I'll tape it up.
I busted my knee up too. I'm limping around. I was limping around all day on at the girls' state. I was hobbling around trying to make my way. I just tore my knee up. So yeah, it's one of those processes. If you keep getting in the grind, it's going to happen to you. So so you've been in the Norwalk coaching program for a long time, and you've been around wrestling for a long time. Obviously, the interview with your brother, I got to get a little bit of the background, but I'd like to get your perspective on it. Like just like twins. One's got one story, one's got the other story. So I'd love to hear about how you got into wrestling and kind of how that path pursued.
Yeah. Well, being a twin and being twin brother, you almost have to wrestle, right? Like you start wrestling from the get-go, and my mom used to joke that we wrestled in the womb because we were so like kicky and everything in there. So but I think just from the very young age, pre-K, we were wrestling. We were in the Warrior wrestling program back then. So wrestled all through elementary school up through middle school. High school, got in as a freshman, sophomore. Eric and I were both like 89 pounds and then 95 pounds, and third string, fourth string JV, but we didn't let that stop us. We kept working hard, kept getting better. I think my freshman year I had 4 matches total, but we were also, there's 5 of us, 103 pounders. So we didn't have a lot. We didn't run in a lot of teams that had that many 3-pounders. So, but yeah, we kept going. Junior year, finally got in the lineup. I had 103 pounds, ended up finishing, winning conference, and then winning the districts and going on to state and finished 4th there. And then senior year, same thing. Won districts, qualified for state, and finished 4th there. Made it to the semifinals that year. Lost to Trent Goodale in the finals. So good wrestler. Ended up being a 3-timer out of Osage and went to University of Iowa. So he actually beat me on the front side both of my years. So kind of a disappointment there, obviously. Yeah. But he's a good wrestler. So
and Norwalk was 2A then, 2A, right?
Yep, 98, 99.
Yeah. When did they change over?
I think it was 01 is when they went to 3A. So I think there was one more year after we got out of high school that they were in 2A one more year, I believe. But
yeah, I think
either 2000 or 2001.
I think I only wrestled against Norwalk one time when I was in high school, like the Ankeny tournament, I think.
Yep. Yeah, we went to Ankeny tournament every year. Bob Sharp now.
Yeah, the Bob Sharp tournament. Yeah.
But it's funny how they name those things.
Yeah, right.
We went to the Urbandale tournament when I was in high school, and it was just as big, 21 teams, maybe not all the powerhouses, but a lot of teams from out east, and that would come over. So and won that my senior year against, beat Trent Paulson in the finals from Urbandale, who was a highly ranked kid at the time. So, but yeah, now Ed Winger, so.
So like being at state those 2 years, what would you say your biggest takeaway was from that experience?
Looking back at it, how hard it is to get there. So I qualified my junior year with another guy, Mike Dunn. We were both juniors. In fact, our junior year, our varsity lineup had 0 seniors in the lineup.
Oh, wow.
We had 0 seniors on the team, in fact. We didn't have any on JV or anything. So, but Mike and I both qualified. And then senior year, I got back, and Mike got stuck actually in the first round of districts. He was top seed and got pinned. Got cradled and pinned and didn't make it, And it just, back then I thought, oh man, that's too bad, But I look back at it, and now as a coach after all these years, it happens, Yeah, there's times where it happens. It's so hard to get there. The stars got to align. We've had kids that have done the exact opposite. They shouldn't have won a match, and they did, and now they're at the state tournament. So that's one of the things I took away is how hard it is to get there. And then when you get there, that's just, some guys get there and that's enough for them, and they're like, I made it. I'm at state. I'm there. That's what I wanted to do. And you can see it sometimes in those first round matches where maybe they don't wrestle as well as they could have or should have, and luckily I don't see that a lot with our guys. We get there and we talk a lot about that. Hey, you're here. Now let's go make some noise. Like, let's go do the things you came here to do. You didn't just want to get here. You wanted to get here and win matches. So let's go do that. So it's not easy to get there. It's not easy to win matches there. Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough tournament, but it's a great place to be.
Yeah. When I was interviewing Eric for the documentary, we were kind of talking about that, and just like I was asking him about like what things are being done in the room after districts is over. Your team has been minimized to the qualifiers that deserve to be there, and then what else is being done in the room. And one of the things he talked about was mindset. How important is mindset for a wrestler, especially going into a large tournament like that?
Yeah.
It's their culmination tournament,
Right. Yeah. It's, we do, like you said, a lot of mindsets work. It's a big deal. We bring Major in actually before districts. I think he's coming. I talked to Brown today. He's coming on Friday, and he's going to talk to the guys. We do shut the lights off. Everybody lays down, finds a spot, and just get your mind clear and just start doing that positive affirmation, the positive visualization. So it's a big deal. It is. You gotta, if your goal was to get there, you gotta reset your goals. Now that you're there, what's your next goal? Tyler talked about in the little clip that you
on the
showed,
trailer.
Set your goals to something maybe it's not attainable, right? Maybe a kid who's 500 and qualifies, set your goal to be that state champ. You never know, set your goal to pin your way through it. Who knows, but you can never reach your goal if you don't set it. So
Right. And it's something you mentioned there. The main word that I heard from you was, having your mind clear. Clarity is huge when you are taking on such even the atmosphere being at the state tournament. There's so much going on. There's so much like stimuli coming into the brain. It's over. You see people just looking around the room, and clarity is super important. If you have something else going on in your mind at the same time, you need to be in that fight mode. It's some of that stuff won't be available for you. Or the preoccupations. How your mind works with preoccupations. So that's awesome. You guys are going to be doing that for the athletes. Working on that mindset. I'm excited about it. I'm super. Well, one, I'm obviously I'm going to be excited about watching districts just because those up and down moments, right? The heartbreakers and heart takers that happen. Who's all in the districts?
We have Johnson coming down, Ankeny, Council Bluffs, Lewis Central's bringing over a pretty scrappy young squad. A couple Des Moines schools, and Adel DeSoto Minburn is coming over. So,
excellent.
Yeah, it'll be a good district. I like our chances there. Ankeny's got a good team. Johnson's got a good team. So, we got some dogs to compete with, but we're bringing some dogs to the fight as well. So.
Yeah, and we don't have Norwalk doesn't have a lot of seniors. So it's a decently young team, right?
Yep. Yeah, that junior class is a majority of the lineup right now, is in there. So, and then got some sophomores and a freshman in there. But, yeah, 2 seniors, Tate and Tyler, which we'll obviously miss them dearly after this season. But we got some guys chomping at their heels, ready to jump in the lineup and make some noise too. So, yeah, we'll have a lot of guys coming back. So
having a strong representation at the state tournament is important. And you've been in the Norwalk program for a long time, and majority of that's all, it's all Norwalk kids. What are your thoughts on like how some schools have kids that come from other districts? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
I know it's a sensitive subject, but that's why we're here.
Yeah. One of the things I love so much about the Norwalk program and why I continue to be involved with it is we grow them up, we bring them up through the system. The year we qualified for the state duels, I know it's been a few years, it was Schmitz's last year, but one of the hashtags we kept using was homegrown. All those guys came up through our program. Every single one of those guys wrestled in middle school at Norwalk. Every single one of those guys wrestled in our youth program. So it was something to be proud of, something we take a lot of pride in. If kids move into the district, we had a kid that came in, actually he was a North kid, but went to Dowling and then came back. We're not going to say he can't wrestle for us, right? But at the same time, we're not out there actively trying to get him to come to Norwalk. So I like the fact we have who we have, and we're going to make the best out of who we have on the team. And I think that shows from a coaching perspective, and hopefully that shows the parents, and they don't look to try to go somewhere else, to try to get on a team that's going to go, 12-0 throughout the year and constantly go into the state tournament. Now, is that our goal? Absolutely, that's our goal. As our team, every year our goal is to qualify as a team for the state duels, and then after that it's individuals, getting through to districts and through to state. So our goal never changes. We do what we can with the team that we have in front of us, and we do everything we can through our youth program and our middle school program to build a team that can do that. So
yeah, and you being a coach is obviously a different filter than the people in the stands have, but that's where the riffraff's at most of the time, right? That's where all the talking goes on. And I think I'm a pretty good listener, so I try to just listen and not commentate a lot on things like that. But, I can sense and feel that in the presence of the room too when we go against like a Southeast Polk team, and obviously a lot of those kids have come from different areas and even different states.
Right.
And then you feel the wrath of that team, just roll your team over, and it's just like, man, there's something just doesn't feel fair here, But I appreciate that about the Norwalk program, just in general as a whole program. Like these kids got raised in the program, and they don't leave to go somewhere else. They stick it out and stick with the same coaches. I mean, you've been with Tyler and these guys since they were kids,
right?
And I appreciate and respect that about the parents too, that don't make the hop and jump to try to find favorable teams or favorable coaches, that they stick with the roots,
right,
and finish what they started. And I love that.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that, right? Finishing what you started.
Yeah.
And making the most out of your opportunities, right? I mean, we go to just as tough tournaments as any of those other schools.
You guys, Norwalk goes to tough tournaments. Like, you guys' schedule has gotten even more difficult than has in the last couple of years.
Yep. That's something we've always strived to do is we want to push ourselves. We want to test where we're at, right? And if we think we got a great team, we want to go prove we got a great team, right? And you can't do that going to 1A, 2A schools as a 3A school. You got to go to the Ed Wingers, and we're looking at trying to get out east again to another tournament. We go to Keith Young, start off with, and there's some great wrestling over there as well. And seeing Bosco and some of those. Well, I guess they're not there anymore, but
they're at the Battle of Waterloo though.
The Battle of Waterloo, we got into that this year, and that was an awesome experience and something obviously we're going to keep on the schedule for as long as we can. And our goal is to go over there and not be satisfied with being in the bracket 4 or bracket 5. We want to be in that championship bracket. We want to be in the number 2 bracket. That's where we think we can be and where we want to be.
Yeah. And I don't mean to be jumping all over the place, but I do want to go back to your, after you obviously had those, you said the weight thing, was a little different in the first couple of years of wrestling, but the last 2 years you made the most of it. You and your brother both did. And then college comes about, right? Yeah. So your brother went one way and you went to the other, which from what I understand, they were rival schools as well.
Yes.
Yeah. How did your parents do that? Did they buy both gear and go support, or?
There's a picture that my mom has somewhere probably, but she actually made her own shirt because Luther and Wartburg are not going to ever put a shirt together, that has both gear on it.
That's awesome.
She made a shirt, had a shield on it and a line down the middle, and this side said Wartburg and this side said Luther, and was probably the only person ever to have a shirt that had both Luther and Wartburg on it.
That's like having an Iowa State shirt.
Exactly. Yeah, she was a house divided at that point, before that was cool. So, they show up, and if it was at a competition that Eric was going to be at, they'd have their Wartburg gear on. If it was a competition I was going to be at, it'd be a Luther gear. If we were both there, they just wear Norwalk gear probably. I don't know. Or my mom would wear her shirt. So, we did have to wrestle each other two times in college. One at the
You and your brother had to wrestle each other?
Yeah.
How come Eric didn't tell me this? Probably because he knows I was going to expand on it, and he lost.
He lost.
Eric, hold up, Eric. The truth. I told you the truth was going to come out on this episode.
But we it was the very first tournament of our college career up at Stevens Point, the Pointer Open, and we were in the same bracket, 125, and ran into each other in the Constellations, I think, and it was a high scoring match, like all of our wrestle-offs were, back in the day. So, I came out on top there, and then we wrestled in at the JV conference tournament sophomore year, and that was the last time we wrestled. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're trying to. We did our wrestle-offs here at Norwalk, and we tried to do like an alumni meet thing afterwards. This year it didn't really work out, and but the year before I was actually out of town when they did it, but they wanted Eric and I to wrestle as like the main event or whatever, and I was like, well, you got to get 10 other matches. You get 10 other 20 alumni then to come back and do matches, and then Eric and I will top it off.
Yeah.
We couldn't get that many people. So.
Yeah, that was such a bummer, dude.
I know.
I was telling Eric, I was like, that's the only reason why I came to the wrestle-offs, because Cy didn't have a match, so I was like, I'm coming to watch. Well, I came to watch him and Keaton have the rematch, but you guys could have had like a 3-man bracket or something and did a round robin or something. Yeah.
In the room just the other day, Aiden was wrestling Eric, and they were going, and I was listening to their podcast talk about backing off the throttle just a little bit. They were going, and I was in the corner like heckling, like, "Come on, Aiden, the Moret name needs this. Let's go." Like trying to get him to take it to him. So Keaton laughed. He thought it was funny.
Well, Coach Brown or whoever's going to be in charge next year, let's make sure we have that alumni scrap. I want to see that. I'd love to see all like 10 different matches. That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
I think I liked it better than watching the kids wrestle.
It was a good time. Like I said, I was the year that Eric and Keaton wrestled, I was out in Pittsburgh at my wife's family's for Thanksgiving, and so we were driving back that day, and I kept getting Snapchats from different people in the audience with Eric wrestling, and it was great. It was awesome to be able to follow along a little bit that way. But
yeah. So you and your brother wrestled each other twice in college. How'd the rest of your college experience go? What did you major in?
Majored in computer science up there, and it was. I mean, wrestling wise, the team, we had a great team. It was one of our first years. I think my freshman year was one of the first years we placed as a team, top 4. We placed as high as 3rd one of those years that I was in college. Was on varsity my junior year. Wrestled at the conference, lost to the eventual national champion, and then ended up losing my Constellation semifinals to finish 5th. And at the time we had wild cards, but I was not selected with the wild card yet. So didn't get a chance to go. But I was an academic All-American that year. So pretty proud of that. I mean, being a student athlete is being a student first, right? So that's one of the things I'm trying to get through to my kids personally, and it's nice to be able to go down in the basement and point at the academic All-American award and be like, hey, look, you can do it in high school, you can do it in college.
For sure.
They award that kind of stuff, So at the banquet, we'll award academic, all-conference honors. It's one of the things that we hand out at our banquet here at the high school. So, I'm hoping Ben eventually will get in that and get those awards as well. Ben and Evan and Adeline, if she does any high school sports. So
I love that. I love that goal for you as a parent. Academics is important, and some kids see it up front, and some kids don't see it until they're in college. The importance of being successful in that and learning that rhythm, because I think college is a good practice for life in terms of like handling tasks and meeting deadlines and stuff like that. So
absolutely.
So what made you come back to Norwalk?
I always just kind of thought I'd be back in at least the Des Moines area. Decorah, Luther's up in Decorah, and it's a great place. We go back every year and go trout fishing up there actually every fall. It's beautiful up there, but it's small, and I didn't think it was a place I could live. So came back to Des Moines, and actually Eric was moving back to Des Moines as well. So he and I bought a house together and said we're just gonna start here and figure out what we're gonna do. Started selling insurance right away after college, and that was a commission-based thing. And I was like, that's not gonna work, So I need something more stable. I can't go, this week with a paycheck, next week without a paycheck,
right.
Based on what I sell. So got to work at Principal. My mom was working at Principal, so I got my foot in the door there. And then after 10 years there, I switched and started working at Walmart Blue Cross Blue Shield, where I currently work. So love it there. But yeah, I think it was just always the draw back to Des Moines. I love Norwalk. I've been here the whole time. My next door neighbors. It's kind of funny. Up in college, anytime a Decorah person goes to Luther, you're like, "Oh, you're a townie, huh?" And it was kind of like derogatory, you know, a little bit, And now I'm back at Norwalk, and my neighbor, when she found out I was born and raised here and graduated here and then came back, she's like, "So you're a townie?" And I was like, "I am, but I'm proud to be a townie." I love it. So one of the jokes my wife and I have is anytime we go to Fairway, when we leave, she's always like, "Okay, what's your number?" And I tell her, it's like, and our joke is, how many people do you know in Fairway?
Right.
How many faces do you see? And they know you, you know them. So, and I mean, it's sometimes like 8, 9, 10, you know, wow. It's like, it's a lot of people, and we'll say hi to somebody in the hall or in the aisle, and they'll walk away. She'll be like, "Who's that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's this person from high school, or, oh, this person, their kid was on my t-ball team that I coached with Ben, back in the day." So it's crazy some of the connections you make, and still obviously see them around a lot. So
yeah. And how do you think the support is for wrestling in Norwalk?
I think it's great. I think it's great. It's obviously part of my circle. A big part of my circle is wrestling. So like every time I see Scott Madole, he's got kids that are wrestling. Every time I see him, he's, "Hey, coach," and it's wrestling coach. I also, like I mentioned, coach Ben in baseball and Evan in baseball and softball. But the coach he's talking about is wrestling coach, So I know he's a big supporter of the program, and I think a lot of people are, that are.
His son got injured this year too, right?
Yeah, that was
at the wrestle-offs.
Yeah, that was a gnarly knee accident there. So, but
he's a good kid though.
Yeah, Ben. So he's a really good kid. I was excited to see what he could do this year, and fortunately that was cut short. But hopefully next year we'll get him.
He's tall, man.
Very tall.
Jeez.
Very tall.
He grew up remember when he was in the kids program with us, and I was like, man, is the grown man right there,
He is really tall.
And I seen you got some ice fishing done before it turned into spring on us.
Yeah.
Thank God.
I never get to go ice fishing, and it just so happened to be that weekend was when we got or my wife and all 3 kids were actually up in Kalahari Resort up in Wisconsin Dells for a gymnastics meet. Imagine that. And the boys wanted to go because it was at that water slide park. So they're like, "Yeah, we'll go. We'll go on this one." They never want to go to watch Alan do gymnastics unless it benefits them,
Right,
so, right. So I was home by myself, and so I had a free Sunday, and they were going to be home, late, 5, 6 o'clock at night. So I called my dad, and he said the ice is still good enough. We can get out on the ice. So dusted off the ice fishing gear and went down there and caught some bluegill, caught a bass. So nice. Yeah, it was great. It was a great time.
Have you been in the outdoor stuff? Is that part of your life?
Yeah. My dad is a big outdoors guy. We were in Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts growing up. We'd go camping as a family. My wife is not a camper, but I take every opportunity I can to get outside and go hunting. Ben and Evan have both shot turkeys. They both shot deer at this point now. So my dad takes them every once in a while. Deer hunting, it's hard for us with
wrestling season.
So, we find weekends where they don't have anything going on and they can go down, and my dad takes them out. And then turkey's my favorite. I love turkey hunting. So go in the spring. It's right around my birthday, so that's also nice. Like Elizabeth asked what I want. I said, I want a weekend of turkey hunting. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I need. So
yeah, I think guys are kind of like that.
Yeah.
Ladies like some gift. Not to saying you're materialistic, ladies. I'm just saying that ladies like a nice gift, as they should, right? Like you said, she does a lot of work for your family, so it's nice to be able to give somebody. But dudes want like an experience.
That's right.
Like that's me. Like I love mountain climbing. Like if I had a choice, like what would you do for a vacation? It wouldn't be like sitting on a beach somewhere or getting a gift. It'd be like I want to go to somewhere remote where I can do something very difficult and be struggling the whole time, right? I don't know why I did. That's just the way I am. But I appreciate that about anybody that enjoys the outdoors, because I think, we talk about mindfulness and stuff. I think that being outdoors and getting your feet in the dirt and your hands in the dirt kind of resets you a little bit. It gives you some perspective.
It does. That's one of my favorite things about turkey hunting is in the morning. Like you get out there in the dark before the sun comes up, because turkeys are roosted, and then when the sun starts coming up, they start waking up, and you can just hear the entire timber wake up. It's the whippoorwills, and then hoot owls. You got hoot owls yelling back and forth, and then the turkeys join in. And it's being peaceful and sitting out there and experiencing all that. And you don't have to be a part of it, or you can be whatever part of it you want to be. So it's great. I love it. I get goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, I hope you can get out maybe next year for some deer hunting. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Set your date, set your calendar.
Yeah. I just bought a bow for Christmas, or got a bow as a gift for Christmas. So I'm gonna get practiced up on that, and then try to because bow season starts in August or early October, and so we can get out and try to get a little bit of bow hunting in before season starts. So
very cool. Very cool.
Ben's got a bow, so he's into that. So I thought I'll get one. And
I love that kid, man.
Together. Yeah.
I was talking to your wife at the Indianola tournament, or Indianola meet. She was sitting right in front of me, and Ben wasn't having a great night that night. Mm-hmm. And I told her, I was like, man, I love that kid, man. He comes in and like, he's just, you can see that he wants to learn, but his confidence isn't where I think he desires it to be. And
right.
I was excited to kind of work with him, because I could see that he had a high interest in wanting to learn something. Yep. So I love that. I love when people's attention goes in that learning curve,
Yeah. Yep. That's anything that he does, he wants to learn about it. He wants to get better at it. He gets not obsessed with things, but very interested, on borderline obsessed.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Same.
Baseball, wrestling, shoes. Like he's starting to collect shoes and everything. So that's one thing that we got him, like a sneaker book for Christmas one year. So
yeah, that's awesome. And you gave a cool name for coaches with the sneakers on.
Some heat feet. Or feet heat, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I was kind of talking about it before we started going live here. I ran into Coach Rowland at the girls' state, and he was in his dress outfit, and he's rocking the sneakers. No more dress shoes. Everybody's switching over to like J's and Dunks and stuff. So I'm glad to.
You see it at all levels.
Yeah.
I saw. I remember it was a college duel, and the guy in the corner, the head coach of the college team, was wearing a suit and some feet heat,
Yeah, yeah. And I think our team's probably got the best sneaker game.
Well, that's because
across the board.
Yeah, we got those young guys, Zach and Keaton. They keep us young. They tell us what's cool, and we go get a pair.
Yeah.
Browns
all across the board.
out.
All across the board.
Yeah.
Parents.
Yeah.
Everybody, come to our side, man. We got the heat in our feet.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
That's awesome. What's your favorite shoes right now?
I only have one pair of J's, but I got some Jordan 1s that I'm rocking. So yeah.
Yeah, I always see you with the tongue out. I'm like, look at my man Ryan doing it right now.
Yeah. That was something. It was one of those. I won the opportunity to buy them from Shields, So
that's cool.
I just put my name in a drawing on Facebook, and then they sent me an email and said, "Hey, congratulations, you won!" And I show up, and they're like, "That'll be $180." So I was like, "Oh, I won the opportunity to buy them." All right,
gotcha.
So they sat in my closet for like most of the year. I thought, I'm not going to wear them until wrestling season. So Ben was like, "You're not going to wear those? You're not going to wear those?" And I was like, "I'll wear them. I'll get them. I'll get them out." So I finally busted them out for our first weekend tournament. And then Ben was yelling at me about creasing them. "You're going to crease them." I'm like, "I'm going to wear them." All right.
That's
what
right.
You're supposed to do.
That's right. See, that's one of the difference between me and a lot of, I collect a lot of shoes. I have a lot of shoes.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of custom shoes, and I help consignment shoes, and I wear my shoes too.
Mm-hmm.
If I buy them, I'm going to wear them.
Right.
I was the same way when I was a kid with toys. Some kids wanted to collect them and put them in the corner on the shelf.
Yeah.
I played with them. So
that's right.
Yeah. You may see some creases in my shoes, but they're real, folks. Don't be looking for the fakes.
That's right.
But that's cool. I love wrestling as a culture right now. That was one of the reasons why I got into doing this podcast, is I wanted to increase the culture, because I just love the people. I think the generation that we're in with it, it's kind of important that we help push keep pushing the culture to grow. Otherwise, you know, we faced that problem that we did several years back where it felt like it was almost going to die off.
Right.
But I love that it's on a upward climb right now. Even watching the women's wrestling tournament, the girls state wrestling tournament, like it was just, the vibe was so good. It was covered so well. Everybody was excited. Just felt like I was a part of something really cool this past weekend. So
that one thing I've noticed with the girls wrestling is just the level of wrestling that they're doing is way up, even just from last year. You know, you watch them and they're tough matches. They're scrapping for every point. They're scrapping in every position, and just the mat awareness and everything that wasn't there 2-3 years ago with most girls. You know, and now most girls have that. You know, and they know when they're in a good position or when they're not, and when they need to bail or when they need to just bail out, give up the two, and fight to see another day. You know, so it's really turning the corner and doing it quickly. I'm excited for what the next few years is going to be. So.
Yeah. I was watching. I was out filming Katie Biscaglia, and she was in her semifinals match, and she hit that little spin. Did you see it? Did you see the reel on it? I don't know if there's a name for it or not, the move yet. Maybe that's something we come up with here tonight. Okay. But she loads the arm, and then she hit a spin. She did a full rotation and then hit the double and dropped the girl. The only person I'd ever see do that was Jake Knight. Jake Knight did it at the Ed Winger tournament to one of the kids he wrestled.
Gotcha.
Or no. It was at the Battle of Waterloo. Okay. So, yeah, super, she's like, I was just practicing it in the back, and she went out and did it in the semis, and it looked perfect, So that level you're talking about is amazing to see not just, they're just trying to survive to get like the program going. They got super talent, and Katie Biscaglia is one of those talents. She's in that pathway of being the first four-timer, right? Just because we're weight class too. She's the little lady, so that's neat to see that. How did you meet your wife?
Actually, kind of through principal, through my brother. I was working at principal. Eric was working at principal, and then she started at principal in the same department as my brother and my buddy David Graham. And we'd go out to eat lunch together, and we just kind of met that way. Started hanging out as a group, and she was there, I was there, and then we started dating. So
was she a Norwalk lady?
She is not. Pittsburgh. Her family's out in Pittsburgh.
She's from Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
How did she get to Iowa?
She was engaged to a guy that was going to DMU to be a doctor, and she called off the wedding and didn't go home right away, and I'm glad she didn't. So up till this year, it's always been like, hey, I'm going to go coach, and it's knowing Ben and Evan are in wrestling, I was doing it, because hopefully they would be up in the high school at some point in time. But this year really got real, with Ben coming to practice at the same time I was going to practice.
How is that? Do you feel like I've been in that boat myself, so it's like I just want to get your opinion on that. How does that feel having them in the room?
It's funny because I was just talking to Liam and Shannon about this because they had a little tiff after, not tiff. Liam came off the mat after our regional duel, and Shannon's coaching him, right? But Liam had some words to say to his dad about yelling at him, and I was trying to calm it down, like, hey, he's just coaching you, you're hearing dad, but you should be hearing coach. And Ben and I had the same thing, like after in middle school, he'd come off the mat and I'd be trying to give him some coaching pointers, and he wouldn't want to listen to me, or he had an excuse, or he talked back, and finally I had to just let the other middle school coaches coach him, and I would just be there as dad support,
Yeah.
But it's hard to have that fine line between dad and coach there, because there's things you see and you want to coach them through it. But if you try to coach them through it at that point in time, you're going to get a kid response to a dad, So we talked about it before season even started, Ben and I did, and we sat down and had a good talk about it. And I said, you tell me what you want to do, because I will do whatever you want. If you want me to be dad while you're wrestling in a Norwalk singlet, I will be dad, and I will let somebody else coach. That's fine. I can do that. I can hang back. I won't yell. I'll just be supportive, and I'll be dad. I won't coach you through situations. And he thought about it and came back, later and said, I want you to be my coach. I want you to be my coach. I'll handle it, And I was like, okay. We had to set some ground rules, like don't talk back, even if you disagree with what I'm saying it for a reason. I've been doing this long enough. I've been doing it longer than you've been born. So, I know what I'm talking about as a coach. But you gotta listen. If you need time after a match before I start coaching you, that's fine. Tell me you need some time, and I'll come back and I'll remember what I need to say. So, it was good to have that heart to heart and that conversation and that understanding of how it was going to go for the season. So, I think it's been great. He hasn't had a bunch of, any episodes or anything like that. We haven't griped at each other. There's frustration there for sure, and I think it's he's frustrated with how some of his matches have gone, and I'm the same way. You never like to see anybody lose on your team, let alone your own kid. So it's also been an interesting dynamic having Eric there too, so Uncle Eric gets to coach him as well. And I think he hasn't, been around coaching Ben up until this year. I helped coach,
but he's excited about it.
Yeah, he's
I can see it. I can see it.
Absolutely. And at the DCG JV meet we had on last Monday, 2 Mondays ago, Eric and I were sitting in his corner, and the match ended, and one thing, Ben didn't look over in between the second and third period to tell us, like, to have us coach him in what position to take. He just took down right away, and then ended up getting rode out and lost by a point. But Ben had also taken the kid down earlier in the first period, and so we were going to tell him to go neutral.
Yeah.
He took down, couldn't get out, lost the match, and I blew up, and that was my bad, but I separated myself from the situation. I said my piece. I said, you got to look at us when it's in the third period. You got to look at us for the choice. We would have told you to go neutral, and then I walked away, and then Eric calmly did the coaching at that point, so it's good to have a brother, have an uncle that understands the situation, but also understands he can back off his emotion a little bit and be able to coach him through there. Because at that point in time, it was a kid Ben had already beat. It was going to be his last match of the year. I had high hopes that he was going to win the match and end the season with a win, and didn't turn out that way. So a little disappointing. I let that get to me. Wasn't probably my best moment, but Ben understands, I'm sure, and I'm sure he forgives me for blowing up, but he probably understands as well too.
Well, I got something for you, if that's okay.
All right. Yeah.
I love giving these gift bags. I'll let you unwrap it here. But I was down in Coralville for the girls' state tournament, and I got to visit the new Eakin nutrition store down there that Joey owns down there, and super cool setup. And I was texting you like, hey, I'll meet up with you on Sunday. Let's get it going. And I was right there and able to I was like, hey, pack me up something for my next guest. I got Ryan Thompson coming on. Nice. So he hooked you up with some
carb.
Some meal replacement and some super carb, a couple T-shirts from courtesy of Eakin Nutrition and I Wrestle.
Nice. I love it. Perfect. Well, here, I got you a little something. You
I appreciate you.
For the background there. So.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I thought you were bringing me a T-shirt. Look at this thing.
Gotcha.
What year is this from?
Oh, man, there's pictures. There's probably pictures of Coach Johnson in one of those. So, mid-2000s. But yeah, it's got a big Norwalk N on it. So, hang that up with some pride.
Right there it is, folks. I finally got a piece of Norwalk gear in here to go along with the rest of the setup I got. Thank you so much for that gift from you and all the other coaches at Norwalk.
Yes.
I'm gonna rock it for the. Maybe I can be a guest at the alumni competition next year.
Yeah.
I'll rock that singlet. They'll be like, tell that old man to take that singlet off.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Do you have what it takes? Do you have what it takes to be a champion? We did nutrition the old way. We take nutrition to the next level. We have what it takes at Eakin Nutrition.
But yeah, so well, speaking of the nutrition stuff, are you doing anything specific for your diet that you follow, or?
I haven't. No. During the wrestling season, I try to eat a little healthier. Try to, shed some of the weight. I'm working out a lot, obviously, with practices, and then we have a gym at work that I go in and try to get some more cardio in the morning, and usually a 20-30 minute sauna session. So that's always the driving force of getting in is the sauna's there when I'm done, Yeah. So that's I call it a cheap sweat, So, but yeah, I like it. It's I try to work out. Eating wise, I don't really do much different. My wife, she's a godsend. Like I said, she plans meals every night of the week. So we try.
How are ladies so organized? I don't know how they do it.
Does it, but
I'm always just flying by. Yeah. I'm like, what time was I supposed to be there?
Yeah.
Even though I got it in this calendar, I got it on my phone.
Yeah.
They're just, ladies are so much more in tune with being on schedule and getting things organized, especially with all the kids.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So.
I know. There's nights, and don't get me wrong, there's nights where we're all going 3 different directions and there's 2 of us trying to get there, but, and there's some nights where it's, okay, we got, wrestling meets until 8:30. Let's just pick up Subway on the way, or let's pick up Jimmy John's, and we're going to eat in the stands. And so there's nights like that. But usually I bet 4 nights out of the 7 we're sitting down and having a family dinner. So I think that's very important, not just to eat healthy, because usually you fix a dinner, it's going to be healthy, and she does a great job of sides and veggies and all that. But just a conversation as a family, connecting, and not everybody's staring at their phones and all that, or so.
Yeah. I'm glad that you guys do that. It's so true. I'm not in everybody's household, so I don't know how everybody else's house is. I only know how mine is. Mm-hmm. But I think phones, obviously, of TV, all this stuff is people's schedules and workiness is obviously changed kind of family setups for a lot of different families. But having what's the important for you about making sure you guys have dinner together?
It's the connecting, I mean, with the kids and the phones, it's a distraction, social media is a distraction. And at dinner, our rules, no phones at the table, and I'm as guilty of it as anybody, of checking my phone sometimes. But at the very beginning of dinner, as we're starting to eat, we go around and do a rose and thorn. What's one good thing about your day? What's one bad thing about your day? And it's a good way for us to just, it starts a conversation. Like Evan talked about, he got an opportunity to compete at districts today. We had Rose and Thorn at dinner today, and his rose was he got an opportunity to compete at districts today, and his thorn was it didn't go his way he wanted. But then we got an opportunity to ask him some questions about districts. Well, did you have fun? His answer was no, but he was in a tough bracket. 120 pounds as an 8th grader, you got some tough kids there.
Yeah.
So, but my rose was, I got an opportunity to coach him for the final time as a middle school kid, and so just getting to do that, hear about what the kids think was a good part about their day, because sometimes it surprises you, Adeline's every once in a while will be, I went to school today, I had fun at school today, and the boys, the rose is never school, they're right. I would rather not go to school, we're like, well, you got to go. So
why do you think that is? Why do you think kids don't like school?
I don't know. Adeline, she always talked about wanting to be a teacher, so I think she likes school. She's had some really great teachers up through elementary school, and so that's really rubbed off on her. Her favorite was her 1st grade teacher, and she just absolutely loved her and wants to be just like her, And but the boys, I think it's maybe because the teachers are mostly girls, so they don't see themselves as teachers. We have a really good teaching friend, Brian Hughes. He's the STEM teacher at Lakewood, and he's a guy and he teaches, and the boys have been around him a lot, and I think they like him. I like him, so I don't know. I wish it would rub off on them to like school.
Yeah.
It's necessary. If you want to wrestle, you have to go to school, so you can't do one without the other. So
yeah,
I don't know why it is.
Being a teacher's hard. It's even God speaks about teachers, and that being like, it's one of the hardest tasks,
Mm-hmm.
and biggest responsibilities. As an observer, I constantly am learning from everybody, my surroundings, people, coaches, seeing other people coach my kid, parents. And I've learned a lot, and I have a lot of respect for Norwalk parents and coaches. So that's a good takeaway for me, but what would you say one of your biggest takeaways from wrestling that you've gathered over the years?
I think success. One of my biggest takeaways is success looks different for everybody, right? It's a sport that if you give it everything, it'll give you everything back, But you have to put into it. You can't just show up and expect to get success, however you define it. So, it's different for everybody, For me, success, I wanted to be a state champ. I grew up at the time when Brad Horton was our last state champ, and I wanted to be like Brad. I wanted to be on the top of the podium. I saw Tony Doherty when I was a kid growing up. Tony Doherty won a state championship. He had red hair. I was like, I can do it too. I got red hair. I can win a state championship. So you see the guys that are like you, and they're in the same wrestling room as you're in, and they win it, and you want to do it. I fell short of that, but I wouldn't say I was a failure at wrestling in high school, 2-time place winner. It's not anything to sneeze at by any means, So that's success. It's maybe not the success I wanted, but it's success. And Eric's story of qualifying, he was, 500 going into districts, had to win a wrestleback. He was one of those guys in the wrestleback, had to wrestle a kid named Tommy Thompson from Carlisle who nobody from Norwalk had beat him. This guy he beat Matt Foster, he beat all the other guys that he wrestled during his high school career, and Eric beat him his senior year to go. And he had lost him earlier in the season. It was awesome,
Yeah.
And that is that's part of success right there. He got there. He got to the state tournament, and he was a match. If they placed 8, he would have placed. At the state tournament, they placed 6 back then, and he lost the round before, the blood round. So, yeah, it was maybe not what he wanted when he got there, but it was success, So that looks different. And some guys, it's winning 100 matches, that's success for them, or winning a match on varsity is success for them. You talk about goals and all that, and I think it's important to set goals, and whether you make them or not. Have you gotten better along the way? Is that success for you? So,
Right.
It looks different for everybody, and I hope everybody can take something from their experience and say, I was successful at that.
Yeah. And everybody has that success pathway, and we all usually have somebody that helps us along the way. Who has been somebody that has been a mentor for you? I know obviously your brother was somebody that you had constantly to bounce things off with, but who would you say one is a couple of your mentors that helped guide you along the way?
Yeah, I think early on in our Norwalk wrestling career, Tom McLaughlin's been a staple of my wrestling career at Norwalk, wrestling and coaching. Tim Hill was our high school coach, and he was a guy who, when we were in middle school, he kind of saw we had a good group of guys that had been wrestling together through grade school, and we were in middle school, and he actually came after middle school practices, and he invited us into the high school room after their practice was over, and he worked with us a couple more nights. And there was like 8 or 9 of us that had been wrestling for a long time, and he taught us a few extra moves, a few extra things. You just got some extra mat time with him. And that really did a lot for us confidence-wise going into high school. And then that group, our senior year, we ended up being, I think, 18-2. Our 2 losses were to Winterset, who was a powerhouse at 2A back then. And I think they finished second at state, dual state that year. So we lost them in the regionals to go to dual state. And it was a heartbreaking loss, but Tim Hill, saw the potential in that group and gave us the effort there and gave us the extra time. And it was something he was doing as an assistant coach at the time. He didn't take over as a head coach our junior year. So he was definitely a mentor. But, Tom, old man, as we call him, lovingly, coming back and the simplicity he gives to the sport. We talk about some of these moves anymore, like so fancy, or we were showing Shannon like the mousetrap. Tyler was showing him the mousetrap. I think Tate hit it in a move, and Shannon's like, what the hell was that? You know, and I was like, they call it the mousetrap or Jones or what, you know, like, and so I had Tyler show it to him in the room, and Shannon's head almost exploded. You know, like, that shouldn't work, you know, and I think back, it shouldn't work, it does. But I think back to like old man would come in and talk about, you know, the simplest things. We're going to shoot a single leg. This is your trigger and this is your bullet. You know, you got to load up in the bullet and you pull the trigger and you shoot, you know, and he just breaks it down so simple, you know, and wrestling can be that simple sometimes, you know. And so think about mentors and getting across to people. And sometimes you got to break it down as simple as you can for some of these kids to come to grips with it, or for that light bulb to click or something, you know. So old man's got a very simple way of getting the point across to guys. So I try to take that, you know, a little bit from him and don't overcomplicate things at times. So
yeah.
My college coach, Dave Mitchell, another guy who, when you go away to college, you know, it's, I mean, you went to the military and you had that experience that I'm away from home. I'm on my own.
Yeah, it's pretty far away from home.
Yeah, very far away from home, you know. But the Corps is not quite as far as you went. But it's 4 hours. And that was something I wanted to do. I wanted to get away. You know, I wanted to be on my own. I wanted to be far enough away. Mom and Dad couldn't just come over on a whim, you know. I'd have to do my own laundry. I'd have to grow up a little bit, have to mature for sure. And Dave Mitchell was a great guy to be a coach, but then also a father figure while you were there, you know. We'd go over to his house for meals, you know, for special occasions like Thanksgiving if we couldn't leave because we had a meet, you know, the next week or something like that. So, and we still stay in touch. A buddy of mine, Gene Adams, just the Cora girls head wrestling coach. They just won a state championship, and we got a text group with, you know, Gene and some of the guys I graduated with, and Dave Mitchell's on there, and so, you know, I'll always offering words of encouragement, and so yeah, he's still a big part of my life, and it's awesome. So
yeah, and you're going to be on that. You're going to be that name that echoes for other kids too, and that's the cool part about the cycle, right?
Yeah.
It gets to kind of continue and repeat itself.
I hope so.
And I think the value in that as the years go on with it is that we collaborate on what inspires us and what memories we have, what goals. You know, like you mentioned, you're like, for somebody's goal, it might be winning a state championship. Some of it, just like when they make it there, you can tell they're like, I'm satisfied. Mm-hmm. I made it, even though they might not get the result they want. And then some people, it's just like, I got out of districts, you know, or I got my 100th win. So I think that's super important that we can have mentors and we can have goals. And obviously we build tradition with that, you know, and that we continue to find teachers and mentors for young people all over. So,
yeah,
man, I'm excited about districts going on. And then we're rolling into state. We were kind of riff-raffing about the documentary.
Yeah.
Tide 365 with Tyler Harper from Norwalk. We're getting, I said towards the end of it, but like there's still so much more to document. And I'm really excited about that. I asked your brother the same question as like, what do you remember first about the documentary starting?
I remember warming up. I think it's the same answer as Eric. I remember warming up, and there's Aaron Martinez with the camera, and I was like, what's he doing? And Eric's like, oh, he's going to do a documentary about Tyler. I'm like, today? Like a documentary about today? He's like, no, like, he's going to follow him around for a while. How long? I don't know, like a year, I think. Oh, okay. You know, and that was the first thing, and I didn't know, I'm like, you know, I didn't know how to act. Like, do you look at the camera? Do you not look at the camera? Yeah. You know, and this is, you know, I don't corner Tyler all the time. You know, obviously Eric's his corner guy, you know, and so up until a couple years ago, like Grant was my guy, Grant Harbor. You know, I was always in Grant's corner, and that was the first couple years of Tyler. Grant was in high school, so. And they were close in weight, so, you know, I was never with Eric and Tyler. I was always with Grant waiting for him to go, you know, and that was all season long, not just at state or districts or anything. So, like, the last couple years, I've been able to get in Tyler's corner a little bit more, which I've really enjoyed. Obviously, Eric's got it on lockdown, but at districts, I was in his corner a couple times last year, and then it was like the semifinal round or something like that. I kept sitting in corners, and the guys I was coaching kept losing. And now we were in tough matches, you know, but they
You
kept
ain't got
losing.
the hot seat.
And so, like, it got to be somebody's match. I don't remember who it was, but somebody's like, hey, Ryan, you can go sit down. I'm like, I'm not sitting in any more corners. I'm going to stand back here, and somebody else can sit in the corner. You know, I can yell just as great from back here. And so I didn't sit in corners for a little while. We kept winning. And so then I'm a baseball guy at heart, you know? So I'm now I'm superstitious. I'm not going to sit in any more corners, you know? So I stayed back, and I was telling Sarah Harper this story. So after district, we went to the Harper's house and had some dinner and everything. So I was telling Sarah Harper this story, and she's like, well, do me a favor. Don't sit in Tyler's corner and stay. And I was like, all right. You know, she's like, no, I'm just kidding, you know? And then I was in his corner for, you know, the quarterfinals, and then in the semis with Pearson, you know, and then after the semifinals, I saw Sarah up in the walkway or something like that. I'm like, hey, is it okay if I sit in his corner at the finals? And she's like, absolutely, you know, so.
Well, I'm super excited. It's been an enjoyable time watching you and the team compete this year, and obviously coaching next to you for several years. So that's always been a blast, and I always have a good time seeing you. I'm glad you got your sneaker game up. So best of luck this upcoming weekend at districts and then on to the state tournament. I look forward to seeing you on the mat. Ryan Thompson, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.